Hi guys! If you were to watch one video on my channel, if you were to get nothing else from any of my other works, the main thing I want to get across is that when you tell a story, arguably the most important thing is your character. I'll stand on my little soapbox here to shout it out loud that the most important thing is your characters. I'm standing on this soapbox to tell you, main character is the most important. And here's the secret. Come closer. And the secret is your reader is your main character. They're gonna go into this book, identify themselves as the main character. In my first novel, my protagonist, who's an aspiring writer, she's actually told the most important part of any story is your reader. Why? The readers coming to your books will have their own background, their own perceptions. One story is not the same for reader A and reader B. I'm kind of more of an introvert, but I tend to understand people, and if you want to write for readers, you need to start to understand them more. You have to get to know them. You have to know what are their goals, understanding their needs and their wants, and kind of working towards that. You have to think about what would pique their interest. You have to think about what challenges resonate with them. What are their vulnerabilities? Your readers will be the ones embarking on this journey. They'll be feeling the same emotions your main character feels if you do this successfully. They need to feel connected to them. Some of your readers might not even have similar tastes as you, and that's okay. Just understand that not every book is going to be for everybody, but what you can do as the author is try to make sure that your characters are as strong as you can make them. So even if a reader decides, I don't like this character because I don't feel the same views as them, that's okay. But what we don't want is the readers to feel like this character is flat or not believable. So this video is an introduction on my series to characters. A character I've seen really well done recently that I even reached out to the writer to say he did such a great job with was Jinx from Arcane. So well done, so relatable. There are many different techniques to get your readers interested or caring about your characters, your main character specifically. Is they need to have some sort of vulnerabilities. Now my next few episodes are all going to be about characters and how to improve on characters. So this is just me introducing you to the fact that if anything you need to get correct is your characters. And make sure your characters, they don't have to spell out their vulnerabilities or anything. It's just something that you naturally start to pick up on. We'll explore a little bit more on that in future videos where the topic will be showing, not telling. Sometimes the most strong connection you'll have with characters are subtle actions that they'll do and that'll make you really feel it in your heart. It's like the moment where they show their love or the moment that they show fear and you can tell this is really getting them in their heart. Hit them in the heart. Brandon Sanderson's technique of the sliding scales analogy, where he's got 3 things that he works on to make sure that characters seem like they're progressing throughout the story. First, their likability. I like to think of Save the Cat a lot. You know, the author in Save the Cat mentions how the idea of saving a cat already makes you very connected to your main character. One of the things I love about that book is the title of the book is about character. Again, standing on my little soapbox here to say, standing on this soapbox to tell you, main character, most important. That the most important thing is your main character. Anyways, so back to likability. You don't want a perfect character. And when I say that characters need to be likable, they don't have to be likable as in all of their perspectives makes you like them. That's not it at all. You could dislike the characters, but the most flawed characters, they should evoke some sort of empathy or some understanding. They're not just inherently bad because they're bad. We need to understand how is it that they got there. You don't have to explain it all in that one book on why they got there, how they got there, but there needs to be some sort of deeper understanding, at least as the author, for how they got to be where they are. And it's by sharing your character's vulnerabilities that's how you start to relate with your readers. Again, back to Jinx. She's not the perfect character. Actually, it's her imperfections that make her so likable. Maybe likable isn't the right word, but relatable. So when we talk about a likable character, it's something that they do or show us that makes us go, oh, that's a pretty great character. Like, sure, Jinx messes up a lot, but her intent is to try to help. And how often have we gone through trying to help and making things worse? But the likable feature is that we're rooting for them. It's that they're doing something that we're going, yes, you go. And then another thing that's very important for main characters is that they're proactive. So that's the second skill that Brandon Sanderson talks about, which is if your characters are proactive or not throughout the story. It's very important for us to see our main characters actively doing things, actively choosing, and not just being swept with the currents of life. We feel like main characters need to be proactive all the time, or not just the main characters, other characters as well. They might start with being not as proactive. Another thing that makes characters very likable, but that can also vary throughout the book, is competence. That's the third thing that Brandon Sanderson mentions is a sliding scale. And I love to think of Ian Coffer's books, Artemis Fowls. Oh my goodness, I love those series. The smart little boy in the beginning, oh, so good. And even like his other books, a lot of them kind of like Brandon Sanderson's actually, a lot of them fall under that heist mentality, and with it, it's this very intellectual, competent little fellow who's off on an adventure. So we would like to see more competent characters, but that doesn't mean that all the characters have to be super competent. It's even more fun to see how a not so competent character starts to learn and grow, and that's the little progress through the book. There's a new person in the story, and you kind of are teaching the new character how to be in this society, as well as now your readers, they're able to go on this journey and go through it with the character and learn about this story in a very natural way as well. I love to do that. A lot of writers do, but it's a really good way of showing your readers how this new world works. And because I think, and again, back on my soapbox, because I think that your characters are your most important part in your story, i.e. your readers, that means, in my perspective, everything should relate back to your main readers. So we'll go through this when we start world building, and we'll go through this in future videos, but whatever we start creating, they wanted to tie it back into how is this going to impact the main character's story. It doesn't mean that there aren't things outside of the main character, there are, but we just don't focus that much on them because then it distracts us from the main character. And I mentioned this in my last video as well. If you have different perspectives, which I like to include in a lot of my books as well, different point of view, it's still crucial to have one main character, one main perspective that you're looking into the story. Some of the things I want to delve into is how the background of your character is also going to shape their personality. It's also going to shape their motivations. It may also shape their descriptions on what kind of clothing they wear to fit this kind of environment, and what they say and what kind of phrases they use. I also would like to give a pro tip that if you have a separate document with all of your characters and how they speak, that helps so much. It helps in the editing phase, it helps when you write your characters. But if you like to write on the spur of the moment, you might develop a certain way a character speaks, and that's fine too. You just need to note it down so that in the future you can continue to go with that. And if you find that your characters are evolving and developing throughout not the way you planned, try to go with it, see how it goes, and you can make adjustments in the end, but just keep a separate document to note how your characters are and where they're heading, just so that at the end of your book you can go, yes, it's consistent, it's believable. This is kind of my story Bible. This is where I keep a lot of how I want the characters to sound. My main character currently, Aura, he lives in here. He's got how his background is, how he talks, what kind of metaphor he uses. Serenity, the other main character, she's got her own little document that says, okay, she's gonna be a lot more upper class and have more access to technology and resources, so she's going to be talking a little differently. And then we have our other main character, Kai, and he's a lot more bad boy type and that sort of thing, and how is he the way he is. So all of that is what I keep in here. So whenever I start writing, I just refer to them and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm writing a dialogue from Kai. This is how he's gonna sound. And it comes a lot more easily that way. So I highly recommend. I just find I work very well with paper. When I'm stuck with writing sometimes, another helpful hint is I'll start journaling and then I'll just start to think like my character, and then it'll help me work through some ways of how would my character think and go in that way. Another thing I've heard that's very helpful is if you start to either watch or immerse yourself or like listen to audiobooks or music. Music I hear is a big thing for a lot of writers. Me personally, I like to journal, so just putting yourself in the headspace of this character that you're trying to figure out and then writing them. Sometimes I'm feeling more of a serenity and I start to write her chapter and it's fantastic, and sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling as optimistic as Aura, so let me get down and start writing another chapter. And speaking about journaling, I just wanted to shout out to my friend Penny. She made this bullet journal. I'm so excited to open this. Thank you so much. Okay. This was my previous journal. Yes, it's missing a cover. I go through journals very fast. I don't know if you see on my bookshelf, but The Artist Way, I think a lot of artists and writers have recommended these things, and I definitely would too. The Artist Way and journaling really helps you connect to your own voice as a writer. So this was a very quick introduction, and we'll get more into depth on this. So again, with characters and character development, there's so much to unpack that we'll be continuing this series. Think of your character as the driver of the story, and the personality is their driving style. So are they calm and cautious, or do they blast music and take corners really fast? Getting to know your character's personalities is going to make them feel more real to your readers, which is what we want. Remember, your readers need to feel like they are the main character. Your main characters are the bridge between your world and your readers. It's absolutely so much fun writing when you start to fall in love with your characters and start to think about them all the time. That's currently what's happening as I draft the second book in the series I'm working with my spouse on. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And if you want to hear more of my videos, please subscribe. Also in the resources, all of my information is coming from my nonfiction book that I've created called How to Write and Publish Your Book Step by Step, and it's free. I've been sharing it on my blog chapter by chapter, just because I keep editing it and then I make these videos and then I edit it further, so that's why it's being released chapter by chapter on my blog, and that way you don't have to like bother scribbling down all the notes. Gotten it all written down.